Welcome to the day 2 of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships here at the ESL Arena in Katowice. We are here for the League of Legends tournament. It has been an insane day 1 so far. We're about to get into incredible amounts of awesome games in day 2. My name is Xscoundrel, and joining me on the desk to start will be Crumbs and Froskurid, ready to take us through the games of the day, especially this first big best of 3. Now, before we get into that, yesterday was a big day, especially for Europe. They definitely didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, big day, but not for the reasons they wanted it to. And one of the things that has to be talked about is the fact that international competition means that domestic success or lack of is discarded. It doesn't matter. None of these teams are playing from what we've seen them before. The VoDs just make no sense for what they're playing now. And so we have to take the information that we have seen presented in their best of ones, even though it's just one game, as the way that they're currently playing and the expectations for what we see in the future best of 3s.
And everyone's going to be making, the gap is widening memes. I've seen that joke repeated multiple times with kind of the reemergence.
Chasm.
Exactly. But I think it's more like a pitfall. It's so weird to say because, like, yesterday there were great individual standout performances from a lot of European players. Like H2K, that just feels bad, man. Febiven's playing out of his mind. He looked great in that series, even in their losses. But unfortunately, the great individual shining moments aren't coming together cohesively to rule the day on teamwork.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into day 2, you might wonder why there are some donuts on the desk. It's not just to taunt us because I'm on a diet. It's because it's Fat Thursday here in Poland, which is the equivalent of Shrove Tuesday in England, and it's basically the day before Lent. So it's sort of like before you give up all that sugar, it's there right in front of us. And we're just going to have to look at these donuts all day and probably not eat them because they just look so nice.
Originally, they had them on my side of the desk. I was like, no, get that away from me. Push it towards
You had to pull it over to me who's on the diet and can't have the donuts. But we're going into day 2 here. We're going to have 3 best of 3s, one of which will decide our winner going to the semi-final at the Spodek Arena on Sunday. And 2 teams at the end of the day will be completely eliminated from the tournament. 2 teams will be going home today. They will not even make it to the Spodek, and we won't be able to see them play in front of a crowd. However, this big first game is going to be Unicorns of Love versus the Flash Wolves. One of these teams will be making it to the semi-finals, and to be honest, Unicorns of Love right now are the true hopes of Europe. I mean, if they win today, they make it to the semi-finals, we can at least hold our head a little bit high and say, do you know what? One of our top teams did make it.
The nice thing is that this is a rematch of the IEM Oakland finals. Unicorns of Love did come out on top there, so still kind of riding that momentum, Europe. I mean, you don't have to be too nervous. It's now best of 3, so a bit of relief there. I feel like yesterday, Europe was a bit tense, a bit nervous. You have all of that pressure riding on you, whereas all of the other teams are riding in like, hey, we just got here. We didn't know we were going to be here. Let's just, throw our faces at it, see what happens, whereas Europe's like, can't mess up. Oh, God.
Yeah, they have to have it with that shock, the fact that they're coming in, yeah, maybe we can take it, or even the expectations that the fans and even us have set for them, and then all of a sudden, they're really struggling. These teams are a lot better than people had expected, and because of the idea that domestically they had not seen any success, and when they come here, the play they show is clearly of a different caliber, and that is going to set these teams in a little bit more of a hesitation in the way that they play. And even Visachachi was outspoken that Kongdu really caught them by surprise, and out of good play, this guy's made a very impressive plays, particularly that play on the bottom side where they counteracted a teleport, a gank on the bottom lane with a TP with lots of flashes, got first brick themselves, and making such a bold statement in the way that they see the game.
Well, why don't we move into our first match of the day then? Because let's start. I mean, I know you guys have got a lot to talk about on this subject because it was such an interesting game from both teams and almost on 2 sides of the spectrum. Unicorns of Love, they looked a little bit out of their comfort zone. Like you guys mentioned, Kongdu forced them into positions that we haven't seen from them in the EULCS. And they're going to have to kind of rework how they approach the Flash Wolves because they are a very dominant team.
Flash Wolves were, in my opinion, the most dominant team. I mean, we did see that kind of raffle stomp, that 22-minute game that Rock Tigers threw at H2K, but the nature of those compositions, it could have snowballed really out of control. Flash Wolves have come in, and in that single game against G2, which theoretically that should have been like the big matchup of the highest caliber of competition that we would have seen, maybe the tournament will show us elsewhere, were the most decisive and the most proactive around the map. And it was particularly around like how Karsa was, being really efficient with his jungle pathing, and he was getting underneath like all of these wards and really contesting Trick and causing problems for him in that jungle.
And they were really using vision excellently. The fact that they understood where to gank at times that you had moments where the roams from mid lane were faster than the roams from Rice, even though there's a realm warp or not even a lane advantage, because of that vision that gives him the first move in the bottom side, and that allows the plays to be on Flash Wolves' remarks. And it's impressive to see for a team that we saw previously, just so recently, struggle with closing out games and really accelerating the pace when they could, to do so well.
And if we're talking about vision, we have to go towards Hilly for Unicorns of Love. I mean, they talk about the stat all the time. He is one of the latest sightstones of domestic stats, so very slow on picking up that vision. And again, it's not necessarily comparing Sword Art to Hillsong and how their vision's moving around. It's can Unicorns of Love fix their vision problems that they had yesterday against Kongdu Monsters and get defensive vision set up so they can collapse on Karsa and Maple when they make these aggressive moves.
And because of Karsa, Flash Wolves were able to make these proactive macro movements, and it's something that Unicorns of Love tried to do with that Shen yesterday, but was shut down by Kongdu Monsters in that bot lane gank. I mean, with Flash Wolves being so proactive, is this something that Unicorns could struggle with?
Yes and no, because the Shen was really underwhelming all around. And it seems like the Asian teams don't care too much about Shen. They'll respect Bandit, but as for, hey, you can do your plays with Shen, they fell for it a couple times, but other than that, they just really didn't mind too much. The Maokai seems to be a much bigger priority, as it really offers a lot more prowess in team fights. And even then, the compositions don't even revolve so much around the 5-on-5, and more so about just having a lot of power picks, which is why we don't see too many counter picks and just saying we want to take in our strongest picks possible for each role as quickly as we can.
I'll tell you another pick that disappointed for Europe, and Froskurin's smiling because I'm sure she's got a lot to say on this. Another pick that really disappointed for Europe, and the Asian teams don't seem to care that much, it's Rengar.
The Asian teams don't care at all. Rengar was 100% big ban yesterday, but only by Western teams. The Asian teams never banned it, and they never picked it. Now, they didn't necessarily pick Malzahar into it. There was a high priority on Malzahar even before Rengar was being shown through draft phase, but Malzahar was kind of the soft counter, if you will, because time after time again, Rengar would jump in, Malzahar would just lock him down and just delete him. But I feel like we keep hearing this, the Asian teams are like, no, Kha'Zix is the jungler that we want to go to. We see the priority there, and Rengar is certainly punishing the Western teams.
And speaking of punishment, Varus has been going through so many times, and this champion is ridiculously broken right now. He's able to dish out himself a lot of self-peel, and that's one of the things that makes him so powerful by comparison to Jhin, who if Jhin gets jumped, he pretty much doesn't have a way of protecting himself nearly as effectively as a champion like Varus can, who can also get picks a little bit more consistently. And this champion really needs to go up in the priority for the European teams while dropping the Rengar.
And Krems, you and I were talking about this a little bit over breakfast, and that you've got 3 AD carries right now that are pretty much sitting in the meta. You have Ashe, you have Jhin, and you have Varus. And if you look at the draft phase, the AD carries are always being picked up in the initial part of the draft, and no one is looking to pinch this pool. Occasionally, we see kind of like the cheeky Sivir coming out, but it just seems like a big missed opportunity for how competent these poke compositions or these siege compositions really have been with the combination of like the Graves, Corki, Varus.
And I see it really as an opportunity for an AD carry that's capable of playing Ezreal to really kick in here. We have seen it in the LCK that the Ezreal can really pop off, especially because you can itemize either a Trinity Force if you're really far ahead. If you're behind, go with the Frozen Fist. Make sure that you can provide a little bit more utility. Makes it use of being able to have self-peel. Allows your carry support to go ahead and do whatever he wants.
Well, we are ready to welcome the teams to the stage for our first best-of-3 series of the day. The winner of this will make it to the semi-final at the Spodek on Sunday. Please welcome Unicorns of Love from the EU LCS and Flash Wolves from the LMS. Roman always looks so majestic when he walks in with the unicorns behind, especially in the slow motion. I really like that. So you guys were talking about Karsa a lot and how his synergy with the mid really accelerates what they can achieve. And I think, I really want to highlight here, is Karsa the person that needs to watch out? Because a lot of people saying Karsa versus Zexy, I think Karsa's got that.
I mean, Karsa is a world-class jungler. He's got so much history behind him. You can never underestimate him. But the thing is like, just look at the flash wolves. Like, you see Karsa on stage, he's laughing, he's giggling. The flash wolves have been super upbeat, very positive, and kind of talking with them in between games. Like, stay pretty much said, you know, our team is confident that in every single position, we could find an advantage. In the bot lane, maybe Betty gets ahead. In the top lane, maybe MMD can punish Vizichachi. And that's a really bold statement to make.
Vizichachi is very good.
That
player.
confidence, we can sit here and hear the Flash Wolves yelling nonstop. This is the team that has spoken by far more than any other team, and that affects the opposition. You do hear that. You hear that noise, that clutter. Like, man, they're excited. What's going on over there? Do we know something that they don't? And that gives you a little bit of doubt in your own play. So if you hear that your opponent is just really that adamant in the communication, what I hope to see is that kind of inspires the opposition to play just as loudly and excited.
Here's the thing, though, like, even though we saw such a slow-paced game from Unicorns yesterday, like, stylistically, this should be super explosive if Flash Wolves play the same, like, really fast-paced game. Because Unicorns are one of those teams, again, I always use the phrase, like, if you look in the mirror, they'll smile back at you. Like, they'll go toe-to-toe. Like, ARAM at 20 minutes, let's do it, boys.
I think one of the interesting stats that our stats guys pulled for us is that the game yesterday from Unicorns of Love was around 0.16 kills per minute compared to 0.75 that they have in the EULCS. You know, that's a game pace that's almost a quarter to a, you know, almost looking like a fifth slower than you have in terms of their overall bloodbath, you know, maneuvers that we generally see from the Unicorns of Love.
To be fair, I do want to reiterate that game time does not equate how good you are as a team. That game did drag on. You could have said, I could say that 10 minutes faster would have been perfectly fine because you are facing Orianna, Graves, Sivir, Tom Kench for wave clear, which is a nightmare to deal with when you have a Rise. So you have to proc a lot of team fights around objectives, not around turrets, and that ends up stalling out the game, considering that Kangdu had pretty decent vision control.
Well, those team fights in that game were insane, because those are the team fights where we saw people escaping within an inch of their life, and not just once, not just twice, 3 times, 4 times, you know, around these Baron fights, these team fights that evolved in the mid lane. No one was dying because everyone was playing it so almost perfectly in terms of their escapes, and the Tom Kench was on point every time. Froscurian's about to tell me I'm wrong.
The keyword there was perfect. And I want to pull back on that. Again, it was Shin ults being constantly used defensively as opposed to offensively and proactively setting up. We've been criticizing that all day, so I want to take a step away from it. Tom Kench, please someone bench that frog. I pretty much feel like he's like the infomercial of champions, because it's always like he does everything good and more. Like, disrupts the 1-3-1. Because Malzahar and Zyra have been nerfed on 7.3, he's not punished as much in lane. Like, just denies all of this pick composition, and he's impossible to kill. I hate that
Global
champion.
ultimate, stun.
Hate that champion. Please ban him.
So if we're going to go into the draft phase soon, you want to see Tom Kench banned? Do you just want to see EU team like ban a Rengar, just leave Rengar out completely?
No, do not. Just forget it. Just forget the champion existed. It can't. It's not being played at the level that it needs to be played, and the pace is just not nearly enough. Because if you consider that composition, that game that stalled out so much, you miss one Rengar. Sure, everybody escapes with their lives. Now you got to wait 2 more minutes to make another play.
The champion that I want to see come back, if we're going to completely ignore Rengar, I want to see Braum. So Braum works really well into a lot of these sieging compositions. We've seen him crop up a little bit in the LPL. I haven't checked his global stats. And again, if Karma and Tom Kench are kind of like your big 2 priority supports, yeah, Braum can still get punished in that. But 1 through 5, especially against Kench, he can punish that frog.
He would be pretty godly against Syndra, as Unbreakable will stop the entire
I'm telling you, Braum, hidden OP.
Okay, I can see it.
So while I've got a little bit of time here before the draft phase, do want to give a shout out to our partner here at the Intel Extreme Masters, The Score Esports. You can check out their latest podcast, all the news and latest developments in esports to help you keep up to date. And if you fancy playing Lee Sin, I hear they've got a pretty nifty guide over at The Score Esports to help you play like a pro, so go and check that out.
Out of all of the junglers to put your Gamble on.
Did I kill that?
Should have said Rengar, what?
Did I
Learn how to play Rengar. Let's make Rengar viable again.
Anyway, you know, moving forward into this draft phase, so we don't want Rengar. We've talked about Shen, but I need to hear more. You know, Maokai seems to have had 10 times this success because it just seems to be a little easier to pull off. Maybe EU teams need to fall back on something like that.
Well, he wasn't so prioritized, because remember that Maokai, while he's a champion that offers a lot to the team fight, a lot of these games that have Maokai are already decided before the phase where Maokai's grouping with the team. And it revolves more around the jungle pick that involves the Rengar, the Varus, the Tom Kench, the Malzahars. These picks that just have so much control in the early stages in the lane that can set the precedent for Maokai to later join in and then wreck it even further.
But that's the thing. It's about the 5v5 when you're looking at the Maokai. Whereas, like, if you talk to any professional player, they're always going to be like, well, Shin's just going to beat Maokai in lane, as well as he can have that 5v5 presence, especially if it comes down to teleport timings, because Shin will always beat you to the punch there. So again, like, it's really hard for us to, like, I agree with Crumbs. I'm like, yes, just play the Maokai just because Shin hasn't been working out. But theoretically, if Shin is played correctly, he is the better pick.
We're in to Champion Select here in the first of this best-of-3 series between Unicorns of Love and Flash Wolves. This is where it all starts. This is where one team decides that they will make it to the semi-finals at the Spodek Arena on Sunday. Ban Maokai straight away. We won't even see him this time round.
I feel it.
You feel it.
I mean, MMD, it's a comfort champion for him. I mean, we talked a lot about like how potent and powerful Maokai is, especially on flank and 5v5. Flash Wolves is one of the few Asian teams that, I mean, the Korean teams are going more towards these like sieging compositions, whereas Flash Wolves are still very competent in the 5v5 compositions where they just run at you.
So it's going to be Shen and Camille banned here by the Flash Wolves. So neither of those champions that we were talking about before Champion Select are going to make it through the first stage of this ban. LeBlanc, who I'm pretty sure has remained at 100% ban this entire tournament thus far. And finally, Jin by Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, so this
forces the Varus.
Yeah, exactly. You're forcing Varus. There's Varus and Ashe left, and I just want to see UoL take the Varus first pick right here. Flash Wolves might recognize it as a pick that might be coming out, and could potentially ban it, as it is a pick that it is extremely contested.
Ultimately, that just puts Tahm Kench on higher priority then, just because he works so well with both Ashe and Varus, as well as against both Ashe and Varus. Malzahar and Karma are kind of the other big support picks kind of left.
So it's going to be Ivern banned, and that means the Unicorns of Love do get that potential first pick on the Varus. Looks like that's where they were heading with the Jin ban here, but Flash Wolves didn't seem to be that bothered about giving away the Varus. And like you said, Tahm Kench could become a priority.
So Tahm Kench right here would be fantastic for both teams. Flash Wolves should recognize that they can take Tahm Kench right now. You can deny the pick potential from Varus. And similarly, Unicorns would love to have the Tahm Kench themselves, because if they were to go with an Ashe on the side of Flash Wolves, that means that Tahm Kench completely denies that, on top of denying a Malzahar. And this Rengar first pick, maybe we can finally see how Rengar is supposed to be played.
This is the first Rengar by any Asian team in the tournament.
And if we're going to see an Asian jungler play...
Please play Tahm Kench here for Hillysang. You got to take it.
If we're going to see any jungler, right, it's going to be Karsa that can make this work. You know, we've hyped him up this much. You think Karsa's going to make this Rengar work?
The scary thing with Rengar is that Karsa was being so proactive in getting early ganks off before level 6. And for Rengar, typically you want to take a full clear and you're just rushing that level 6 when your ultimate is really potent. I agree with Crumbs. I feel like they should go for Tahm Kench immediately.
Like, just instant lock-in, no hesitation, because you did not. These are two single-target pick-off champions that the Tahm Kench not only nullifies the ability for Rengar to camp the bottom lane. There we go.
But the thing is that means that there's an opportunity where they pick up Karma here. They have the Ashe Karma. So if you want your jungler to get a full clear, get that level 6 and not be disrupted, they need pushing lanes. And the thing that Tahm Kench doesn't give you, or one of the few things that he doesn't have in his kit, is he can't get push priority in the bottom. He's really dependent on his AD carry doing the work for him. Varus is great in that sense, but Ashe is such a bully. So there is kind of now, depending on what the mid lane pick is, this window where Karsa could exploit the bottom side of the map and push priority.
I'm seeing a European team pick like an Asian team, and an Asian team pick
Wonderful.
Like
that means that they have taken lessons from day one and are applying it to day 2. And they are comfortable with these picks, so it will lead to some success if they know how to play them right. And Karma, as Frost was mentioning, makes lots of sense here, and you don't really want to show your hand completely, as both teams have picked bot lane and jungle, and now it comes down to solo lanes in the second ban.
So we're going to see bans coming through. Where do you think ban priority comes for top lane, given that Maokai's and Shen is out? Just try and limit that champ pool, or go for the mid lane?
If it's top lane, it ultimately gives Flash Wolves the upper hand because they're red side and they'll have first pick coming out of this. So I would expect them to at least focus down top side.
We will see. They do have the first ban. They're actually going to focus the Rise. So that means Exile won't be able to get his hands on that particular champion. There's a lot of talk about Exile's Rise, how strong he is with that champion, and that will be gone from the table. UoL have to respond now. Where do you think they'll go? Do you think they'll focus mid? Yeah, they're going to focus mid as well.
There's an opportunity here because we can already kind of talk about like what the core of the compositions set up, and it doesn't really reveal their hands. Both teams can still opt into. There's a bit more priority for Unicorns of Love to look for like 1-3-1 or 1-4, just because they also have Tom Kench. Whereas Flash Wolves, because they have the Karma, they can also look for a 1-3-1 depending on what their top laner is going to be if they want to go for that split push pressure, or even in a mid lane. We did see the Diana hover.
Oriana. Okay. So a lot of this focus is so far on the mid lane, which does leave Cassiopeia to be one of the premier mid left. There is obviously Victor as well, now that the champion pool has been kind of gutted. And
Kled?
Wow, okay. So targeting MD now.
You're just going to give Maple Cassiopeia or Corki, who has obviously been very strong and popular over the last few weeks.
Pushing priority, the ability to collapse and invade with Karsa very easily, especially on those package power points.
And it makes sense because what you want to do with Rengar, you don't want to just be ganking lanes that are overextended. If you have all your lanes pushing, you get that quick level 6, but you pressure dives. And by pressuring dives, you're guaranteed to get an objective right after, as opposed to just getting kills, which, fantastic, you're stacking your bone tooth necklace, but you're not winning the objective war.
The scary thing for me here is that if you're Unicorns of Love, you're looking at Flash Wolves and you're like, it's very clearly Rengar is going to be hanging around the bottom side of the map. You've got the Tom Kench, so you can absorb a lot of that pressure. So if Flash Wolves don't execute correctly on, the speed up from Karma or the Ash Arrow in conjunction with the package as well as Rengar, they're going to lose these big moments of power where they're waiting for those cooldowns to be used elsewhere.
So we're going to see Exile take Victor to the mid lane here. Like you said, that champion pool limited. Doesn't feel like the Cassiopeia in this situation. He's going to go for the Victor.
Yes, Vizcachi.
I really love the Renekton pick in combination with what they have so far, because they have kind of a later scaling mid lane in Victor, and then you have obviously the tier on Varus, and so you want to make sure that your early game has some sort of power. The Kazakhs will bring that, and then adding Renekton to the mix means that your top lane will have a tremendous advantage. So this way, you're kind of fighting that pushing power, and if you're forcing MD to play the Poppy, you have a guaranteed winning in the top side, though he has to be careful because Rengar Poppy is quite deadly.
It's pretty much cutting the map horizontally. The fact that Karma and Ash are going to have push priority, so Karsa can invade bottom side, whereas on the other side for Unicorns of Love, they have complete control over the top side of the map between Victor and Renekton. But the thing is the Tom Kench, like, Hilly can absorb all of the pressure. It's very clear where Flash Wolves want to go with this composition, and it's up to Hilly that he can deny all of that.
How important is Vision going to be for Hilly this game with the Rengar there? And
it doesn't need, like, obviously Vision's always going to be important, but literally if he just sits in his lane, he's just like, okay, the Ash Arrow is going to come. All I have to do is just make sure that no one dies here, and we will passively win the top side of the map.
He basically has to play how Thresh would play Lantern Bot, just sitting far behind, making sure that he saves Devour for whoever gets caught out of position. And if he does that, you deny the cooldowns of this ultimate reliant composition. And we've hit so many times that if you miss the windows of getting a pick with these cooldowns, you end up stalling the game out tremendously. And so if he can deny that with a single non-ultimate ability, he'll kill it.
I just need to give quick predictions here. So Crumbs?
I think Flash Wolves will win game 1.
I'm actually going to go with Unicorns of Love.
Oh, I like it.
I really like their composition.
I like it when we have a bit of disagreement. This is going to be fun when we get back. Speaking of which, we're going to hand over to our casters for the first game of this series. No break. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. I'm Daniel Dracos. This is Andrew Vedius Day, and we're about to get into Game 1 of Unicorns of Love Flash Wolves. Very interesting draft. I was absolutely and completely convinced that the Riven would be locked in, but I think probably better to see the Renekton coming out here. And what are your impressions from the pick ban that we've seen so far? Heard predictions from the analysts.
The thing that I'm most excited about is we get to see Hillisang on Tom Kench. This was a champion that he was able to make so many plays in during the regular season of the LCS, and I think that it is so much better for him as the individual. We saw him bring out the Zyra yesterday. He didn't quite have the same game impact, but I think he's going to have so much more opportunities coming into this first game of this best of 3.
And of course, while he did have some fantastic disengage ults coming in from the Zyra, it wasn't the same level of agency. He had to wait for his team to dictate a fight, try to find the disengage. The Tom Kench, he kind of get to set the terms of the engage with that ultimate. But the big question for me is, how are they going to make it through this early laning phase? Because Ash Karma seems so very oppressive. But now we're going to find out. It's game 1. Unicorns of Love on the blue side. Flash Wolves on the red. No blood spilled quite yet. Is this going to be a bloody game, Vedius?
It better be, because the Unicorns promised me action at 25 minutes yesterday, and then they did not deliver.
You were just 20 minutes off. You were 20 minutes off, Vedius. It's the 45-minute mark is when Unicorns of Love go off, Vedius.
But what's also really exciting to see is what Karsa can do on this Rengar, because I feel that we were pretty critical of the European Rengars yesterday.
I mean, we're still critical of them today.
Yeah.
They have not looked good.
But now we get to see what Karsa can bring out. Now, yesterday he had a fantastic early game on the Kazakhs. It'll be Xerxes playing the Kazakhs this time around. And typically, Xerxes has not really been known for being a hyper-aggressive early game jungler. He's more of the scaling type. He prefers to play more towards the mid and late game, that team fighting presence. But now he could look for an opportunity to maybe get some early snowballs, maybe have that early game impact. And we'll see a bit of trading down bottom.
Samix is fighting Sword Art, but Hylissang, he's moving up and trying to trade with Ashe. Does get the stun off. Tahm Kench level 1, of course, notoriously strong if you can get into melee range. Things are actually looking okay right now for Unicorns of Love, but this is a very bloody level 1. No major cooldowns burned quite yet, but health bar is pretty low.
But look at this. The bottom lane of the Unicorns of Love have actually started to get that early push-off, which is very important, because if they can get that early level 2, then they have a little bit more control over the lane. You can see now, though, that when they return to lane...
bad. Exhaust, heal going to be traded in exchange. I mean, I like the aggressive move, but I just feel like you can't trade to get the karma.
I mean, initially it was fine, right? Because they weren't playing into a minion wave, but then the moment Flash Wolves started hitting onto the caster minions and UoL's bottom lane were not just playing against an Ashe Karma, they were also playing against 3-4 minions. Very early on, that could really have a big impact. So they have to respect it. They're now being forced back. This is the lane setup that we would expect, and they are going to suffer a little bit in terms of the farm.
Well, one of the interesting things, too, is that we have two very veteran supports with two much younger AD carries. Betty, formerly known as Double Red, coming in for the team at Oakland. You've got Samix, who's just joined the team this season. So interesting to see how this lane is playing out, because I think both of these guys have impressed in terms of individual performance, Samix and Betty, despite being very young players in their roles.
I completely agree with you. And I think it's really exciting, because one of the things that Samix was praised for in the European LCS was that his farm is usually pretty average, but he always forces his opponent to be behind. He is a very aggressive laner. We've already started seeing that thanks to the pressure that Hylissang likes to put down during the laning phase. But Betty, he's no pushover. He's been regarded as one of the more mechanically stronger individuals in his region. We've heard a lot from analysts and other players that he is one of the players that we need to watch out for. And let's not forget, yesterday, he killed who are known as the best bottom lane in Europe. He got the 2 versus 2 down. They were able to come out victorious, and they were a big part in their success over G2 yesterday.
Very crucial, but of course, as we start to look across the other lanes, Renekton and Poppy's going even. Jungle appears to be out about same pace. Rengar getting a slightly earlier back timing. And at the end of the day, mid going very well for Exile right now. Corki, with no items under his belt, seems to be struggling in these mid lane trades. And Victor, not a champion we've seen quite so much of in recent weeks.
I mean, Victor's a pretty safe pick, scales nicely into the mid game, but I am a little bit surprised that he's able to get such a powerful push-off against Corki, because the thing about Victor in early levels, he has high mana costs, and his pushing power on the E isn't actually that strong because of how long the cooldown is. So usually, if the Corki's pretty aggressive, he should be able to get the push off, but Exile is giving no room for Maple to actually get that early push. You can see that it actually looks like Maple's actually even gone for an early back because of how aggressively Exile has been playing. And he's just been using that Q that every time Maple walks up to get a push on, he's just trading back. So Maple's just slowly getting chunked out, and he's actually losing a bit of pressure in the lane. So good understanding of the champion, or the matchup even from Exile, to be able to get this early push up.
Looks good, but Karsa maybe hoping to interrupt that. Both junglers dancing around each other. Peeking into the enemy jungle, looking around. Karsa going to know he's now safe, but know that there's no camps there for him to take. Bottom side of the map, though, still struggling for Unicorns of Love. They had the aggressive level 1, but since then they've been forced onto the back foot. Volley and the Soul Flare just far too much for them to deal with. I mean, at this point, are we waiting for the level 6? Are we waiting for the Tahm Kench ult before we can see anything here on the bottom side?
I mean, for the time being, they're just going to have to sit back and accept their defeat. What could happen is they look to make a roam up top, because this Renekton will always have the push onto the Poppy, right? It's one of the advantages of picking Renekton. He doesn't really have many lane counters per se, especially when a lot of people are just picking tanks into him. So he'll always have push priority, he'll always be able to shove his counterpart underneath the tower, and that allows the Unicorn bottom lane to just make a rotation at top and try and rush for that early tower if they know that they're going to lose this bottom tower regardless. So maybe they can get themselves that early first tower gold. Alternatively, you just have Xerxes come bot, and maybe they just look to set up a gank. You can have the flank from Hylissang once he hits level 6. Maybe they can lock down the low mobility Ashe. There are a few options that they have available to.
For now, it is going to be the Unicorns of Love bot lane struggling, however, as Samix is forced back, and Hylissang and Xerxes are going to do their best to pick up the farm there under tower. Control wards, though, coming out quick and early for the Unicorns of Love. Learning from Europe's mistakes yesterday, we saw vision be so crucial for the Korean teams and for the Flash Wolves as well. Unicorns of Love taking steps up their vision game. That's 4 now in the inventory. They are determined to keep control on their side of the map. However, it's not working for them yet. You can see, Vedius, that bottom side of the jungle was absolutely lit up with Flash Wolves' vision.
Karsa already hitting level 6, moving towards the bottom half of the map to just gain control, because he knows that both Betty and Sword Art have the push. He knows that if Xerxes is going to gank anywhere, it's most likely to be down towards the bottom half of the map. And that dragon is also a big objective that they want to make sure that they have control over and can easily transition to if there ever arises an opportunity. So Karsa having a good understanding, but notice that Xerxes, we're yet to see anything from him. He has prioritized early farming. He has actually picked himself up the Tracker's Knife, so that he is investing a little bit more into vision as well. And this is the thing that we were talking about earlier on. What are we going to see from the two junglers? Where is their early pressure going to come from? And the fact that Xerxes hasn't really tried to exert any early pressure isn't cause for concern just yet. But you've allowed Rengar to get this level 6, and maybe Karsa can get that gank off before Xerxes has an opportunity to.
Keeping our eyes on where that first gank goes. Who can find that early snowball? Which of these two powerhouse junglers can find an early lead? Blue buff take will be spotted out, though. MMD with the proactive vision being placed on the top side of the map. As you said, though, Renekton just continues to push in, and Poppy forced onto the back foot here. But it's not really about the top lane. This time around, it's about keeping your eyes on these junglers and seeing where they're going to end up first.
I really like this ward just towards the bottom half, or the top half of the bottom river from the Unicorns of Love, because they were able to spot out Karsa as he transitioned through the river, and now they're expecting a gank bot.
Oh, they should have seen this coming, but Unicorns of Love look to get caught out. Hylissang's locked up, does get to use the thick skin. Exhaust goes down, but the trade on tower aggro is perfect, and Flash Wolves are going to pick up first blood, grab Hylissang as well. A clean, quick tower dive.
Very surprised that the Unicorns of Love just allowed that to happen. They had full vision of Karsa as he was transitioning through the river. He was very clearly pinged out. No teleport preparation came out from Chachi. Both the bottom laners of Unicorns of Love didn't back away, and they ended up giving away first blood. They're going to give away first tower, and Flash Wolves netting themselves a very strong early lead.
Exactly what they wanted. 1K about to turn into 2 as this tower is set to fall. Good spot to be, but Xerxes getting caught out. He doesn't have the Challenging Smite. He doesn't have the red buff. Corki with the package on the way in. Flash forward. Karsa wants one. Stealth up, but now it's Exile looking for the 2v1. Doesn't quite have the health to stick it out, but the Chaos Storm buys him a brief reprieve. Maple looking for the rockets. It goes wide. Unicorns of Love hold on in the mid lane.
Karsa's able to catch Xerxes just straight up out of position. He comes up through the bottom half of the Unicorns of Love jungle. He has the level advantage over Xerxes, and he's able to force him back. Exile is forced to use his exhaust as well, and Maple, he already had his package. That's going to force both Exile and Xerxes back. This is going to enable Flash Wolves full control over the river, especially after just picking up that bottom tower, and this is likely going to be their next.
And now Renekton has to go into the mid lane to stop that midway push. Poppy gets free license to push in on the top side, and it's these small advantages just adding up in the favor of Flash Wolves. Explosive play on the bottom side. Feels like instantaneously one on the top side, or in the middle as well. We can watch this one again.
Thing is, if you looked on the minimap, you could see that there was a ping in the river. Unicorns were fully aware that this gank was coming down bottom lane. Or at the very least, they were fully aware that Flash Wolves were in the bottom half of the map. And they just didn't respect the possibility of this dive. It just surprised me a little bit, because normally the Unicorns are a team that are very quick to react to these sort of situations. They are very on the money when it comes to, hey, let's try and turn around this fight, let's try and stop it. And they just concede and they give away that first time.
And as a team that has historically prioritized Shen so much, they should know about these bottom lane dives when you have bot lane priority, bot lane advantage. But don't even see the Rengar and the Corki coming. And this is just already a fantastic start for Flash Wolves. And really, Rengar looking like a pretty solid pick right now.
I guess my biggest criticism is towards Cersei because he was given the Kha'Zix. He had the opportunity to go for those early aggressive ganks. He could look to either relieve some of the pressure bottom lane, maybe he could exert some pressure up top, utilize the fact that Renekton has just been shoving MMD underneath that turret, and he hasn't done anything. He just allowed Karsa freedom with this Rengar. He didn't need to try and force any early plays. He had pushing waves down bot. He had an even wave in mid. Hey, it's Poppy. She'll be fine. She'll scale up later. And the moment he got that level 6, that's when he looked to make a play. They'd already set up vision around the bottom half of the map. They very cleanly made the map movement bot. Maple got the push in mid, and then they set up a good executed dive, and they get themselves the first tower. It is good play from the Flash Wolves, but this is also very what we expect from the Unicorns, and the longer they leave this, I don't think that you're going to have a Kha'Zix that's going to have the same sort of impact as a Rengar who's already got a level advantage, has already been involved in 2 kills, and is already looking to have a bigger impact on the match.
Definitely a concern moving forward, but there is good news, VoDs, for the Unicorns of Love. Samix is out of that bottom lane. He gets to sit, he gets to play the wave clear game now. Puts Exile in the side lane, though, not quite where the victor wants to be.
Exactly. Do you want that against a Rengar? Your low mobility mid lane mage going up against a dude who can turn invisible and gank you at any point in time. He could probably even 1v1 you at this point after he's already completed his first major jungle item.
And we look at it, Challenging Smite is just such a brutal thing to play against as a mid laner. 15% damage reduction, all too powerful. And additionally, as we set our sights on top lane, where I feel like they have the Renekton, it sets them up for early success, but it's not something they played around. It's just been nullifying any early plays from the Poppy. But Poppy's the one who's going to scale better as we move forward into the game.
She will. And now the Unicorns of Love. The thing you always have to remember is that the Unicorns have been in this position before, right? It's not like during the LCS they haven't suffered early deficits, because this is Cersei's playstyle. He doesn't really look to make very much happen in the early game. He concentrates on vision, concentrates on farming. But we always say 20, 25 minutes, that's where the team turns on, right?
We.
But the difference, I say that. The difference now is that Hylissang has the Tahm Kench. We talked about it just at the start of the game. This is a play-making individual that has a play-making champion. And if he sees an opportunity, he will force it. And that is the window where Unicorns can look to come back to this. They have a good team fighting comp. They scale pretty nicely. Just because the Kha'Zix is behind Rengar doesn't mean that he won't do damage, right? Like, they have a lot of options as Samus gets hit up in the mid.
Well, not a ton of damage going to fall, but is going to use the heal just to make it out to safety. Better than burning the flash, but just one small mistake, not going to cost anything there in the end.
And now Flash Wolves, they're looking to try and punish that by getting a bit of pressure down on the mid lane.
Continuing to push in, Karsa waiting off to the side, but 4 members strong stand in the mid lane for Unicorns. Hylissang on the front line for this Tahm Kench. MMD continues to battle back and forth on the top side, pushing out and in. About the 2K goal lead for Flash Wolves, as long with that Mountain Drake. Hasn't amounted to too much quite yet, but looks like they're trying to get the collapse here on the top side.
The thing I really like about the Flash Wolves is that for a very long time, it was always, oh, you have to get Maple and Karsa ahead. If Karsa has a bad early game, the team isn't going to succeed because Maple's that big carry. MMD can only play tanks. But now we see a lot more focus in the bottom half of the map. We see them being a lot more proactive, especially up in the top lane.
Oh, Chachi could be in trouble. Does have all the dominance. I don't know if they want this dive, but Chachi takes way too much damage. Tahm Kench rotates up. Delivers 2 members strong to mitigate the play from Flash Wolves. End of the day, Unicorns will hold on, but they're taking so much damage under this tower.
All 5 members of the Unicorns are in the top lane right now, though. Fortunately for them, they're not going to lose any pressure in mid. Chachi's going to be able to go back to clean up the bottom wave, and with Exile here, they should have enough wave clear to be able to hold this tower.
Varus, Victor, pretty comfortable to keep this going. Cersei waiting just in case they go for any aggressive dive maneuvers. But now it's going to be Exile left alone to handle the wave clear. Renekton sent back to the bottom lane, and Flash Wolves are dictating the pace of this game, VoDs. Unicorns of Love purely forced to respond here.
They're utilizing this Ashe and Karma pick extremely well in the early game, making map movements to utilize their good wave clear, their good ability to pressure. And then they're always using the package whenever it's available. So Maple always looking to roam around and take advantage of how much quicker he can get to these side lanes than Exile can. In this instance, they couldn't quite net themselves an objective, but still you can see the proactivity coming out from Flash Wolves, very similar to what we saw from them yesterday in their game versus U2.
And there's only one ward now protecting Exile on the top side, but all of the vision is there from the Flash Wolves. Everything that they need. Betty with arrow as well. Rengar heading up to the top side. Got to be a little scared for Exile here. Has he bit off more than he can bargain for? Has the exhaust, has the flash, could be safe, but With a pick comp like this and a lone member standing on the top line, there's no Abyssal Voyage. There is a TP to keep him safe, but they can't keep giving up summoner spells for nothing, especially when they're already at a deficit.
Exile, he is respecting it though. An Exile from a year ago might not have.
Yeah.
But
Exile from a year ago would have played Yasuo, because he always played Yasuo.
and he would have known that he could wind wall the Ash Arrow and then go for the 2v1 outplay.
Yeah, but that never actually
That never
happened.
happened. But that's not him anymore.
No, obviously incredibly improved. I'm glad that we're taking a chance to look at the Renekton not doing damage. It's a sad, sad thing, but Poppy just too comfortable to itemize the early Ninja Tabby here. Arrow goes in, arrow goes out. No one's gonna get locked down. TP coming on the backside though. This is aggressive. They're just speeding up. Oh, there's the Tom Kench as well. That's a good start. Karsa's caught all alone. He flashes out to safety. Unicorns of Love trying to make something happen, but Hylissang is taking a ton of damage. Maple's here on the backside. Rocket goes in. Sachachi running for his life. MMD, he's gonna go for the wall bang, knocks him in. Chachi gets eaten up, trying to take it out to safety. Hylissang, with the little life he has, saves his teammate. Good disengage comes in from Unicorns of Love.
I like the flank from MMD to lock down onto Chachi, but he did have the Dominus available and a really good response ult from Samux to just disengage from that fight. It enabled Unicorns of Love to get a proactive play. The only flash that they actually lose is on Hylissang, but they get Betty's flash, they get Caster's flash, they get MMP's flash, and overall it is a net gain in terms of summoner spells, but Flash will gain in terms of the objective.
They're gonna get the objective and they keep the teleport from MMD. After Perspective moving forward, but Unicorns of Love not giving up easily, not going quietly, don't want to give the free snowball, using their global advantage, or attempting to force something larger. Does not work out for them. But when there's more damage, when there's more burst, without a flash available, could be a big issue. However, we're now at the point where things might be a little bit tough for the Victor. Maple completing that Trinity Force. Victor on the way to something a little different.
It looks like he's actually going more towards a kind of split push build. Now, there are two ways in which you could build Victor. You can either go for an early Lich Bane, which means that more of your power comes from your Q, which means that you're much better at trading and much faster taking towers, or you can go for very early Rylai's, which is much more towards team fighting, and then you have the utility, and you have a little bit more burst. So the fact that Exile has prioritized getting an early Sheen does suggest that he's focusing more on going towards that side lane, and perhaps being more of a side lane threat than the standard Victors that we have seen from old.
No longer just the line wave clear, show up in a team fight, bomb them up.
Now he's like, hey, I'm going to outplay you, fool. That's how I would say it. That would be my
Would he say fool?
Yes.
Well, Samix scotting out, but they come in. Unicorns of Love now have to disengage. Karsa's hungry for Samix. Hylissang has already burned the eat, so Samix is going to be in trouble, but he locks up Karsa mid-flight. Quick cleanse out of there, the empowered Battle Roar, but MMD running forward, looking for the wall bang. Samix has to watch that positioning. All goes in on the Cersei. Trading back and forth here. Exile's there to back the team up, but Maple's here, and he's got the package. Now moving in for more. Flashful steadily burning down the tower. Unicorns of Love know better. They're going to give this one up. Overextension on the top side, costing them a tower in the end.
But look at Chachi in the bottom lane. He's constantly been pushing it out. He didn't have the teleport to join the fray, and he's able to get some damage down. Now, he should be able to net himself this tower. He has another minion wave following up. So overall, the Unicorns will be able to trade objectives, and the map will still be open up. But we have to bear in mind that the Unicorns, very early on, were able to take that mid tower, which means they've always had that pressure available to them. And now we see an actual map movement from Maple down bot.
Wants to go in, wants to get a little bit more. Chachi potentially in trouble. Don't think he has the health to survive both. Does have the Dominus, however, to buy time. There is a Blast Cone. The escape route is made. Nice play coming in from Chachi to make it out.
Really good play from Chachi. He used the initial slice. He flashed over the wall. He had just enough time to get the dice out, which then closed the gap to get the Blast Cone to jump out. Really impressive stuff from him. And just really good awareness. He doesn't get the tower, though. So he does get punished for overstaying a little bit.
At the end of the day, we can praise him for escaping, but he still burns his flash.
Yep.
He still doesn't get the tower, and that is bad news for Unicorns of Love. And it's Flash Wolves who still outplaying on the map, still moving faster, making one move, staying one move ahead of Unicorns of Love.
And they've held on to this gold lead. They netted it from that early play bot, and they've maintained it. They've kept up pressure. They have the dragon advantage, but they're yet to force a fight, but that could be right now.
Ooh, arrow lands on a Xerxes. This could be big. Moving forward, Rengar going into the backside, so he has to run for his life. Leaps over the wall, trying to juke out Maple. Where's the rocket gonna go? He's just gonna flash auto. Exile goes in for the exhaust. Maple is all too healthy, but the Chaos Storm is taking him down. One more tick. It's not gonna be enough. Karsa drops Exile on the backside. Flash Wolves in complete control.
Good initiation from Betty to lock down Xerxes, and that enables Maple to come in from the flank, and Karsa with his ultimate to catch off the straggling members of the Unicorns of Love. They're now 4-0 in kills, and they're setting up a lot of control around Baron.
Oh, poke goes in, but Karsa gonna leap on. Saying pulls his AD carry out to safety, but gets locked up. Thick skin procced. 2 stacks, not gonna taste him in the end. This is Flash Wolves absolutely controlling the game, and Unicorns of Love once again getting caught out. Chachi continues to be the split pushing threat, but it's just not enough to stop the Flash Wolves.
And normally it's the Unicorns of Love looking to try and make these mid-game plays. They have the Tahm Kench. They're typically the ones that are trying to catch people out of position, but it's Flash Wolves. They have such good vision control that every time Unicorns of Love look to make a map movement, the Flash Wolves will just throw something out. They'll try and utilize this single target CC they have to catch players like Xerxes out. And they're just too squishy at this point. There's no way you're going to be able to sustain against Maple, who is so strong. He knows he has the support from Karsa to come in from the flank. And it's just all from this great vision control that Flash Wolves had already set up earlier on.
And the brutal thing about this, Vedius, is you have the Tahm Kench. You only get to save one person.
Yep.
So when the Ash Arrow comes first and someone gets hit, you can't save that guy.
Nope.
When Rengar leaps in, you can save that guy. But then you got a 15-second window. Rengar's not going to stop leaping onto your team if you're already on the back foot. It only gets more difficult from here. Kha'Zix hits level 11. This could be a breaking point, but Hylissang once again caught out. Samic's going to be the target. Eaten up. Tahm Kench says nope. This is looking much more grim, however. Unicorns of Love had some parity in the fights earlier, but now taking far too much damage.
Thing is, I wanted to look at the bright side for the Unicorns of Love. Early on, yes, they've been in this kind of a deficit before. Normally, they're the type of proactive team that can find ways back into the game. But so far, Xerxes has little to no impact on this game. We talked about how he does typically prefer to play the scaling style of play, and on this Kha'Zix, he's done nothing. We've only seen Samix use his ultimate to disengage rather than force an engage, and the one proactive play we saw Unicorns try to make in the top jungle just falls apart as it
He's going
hits
to
here.
have to wait on that one because they find a proactive play down there. They are going to pick off one. Xerxes trying to make a name for himself. Sword Art isolated. He's going to get slowed up. Tahm Kench delivered onto the backside, but they overstep. That's far too far for the Unicorns. Flash Wolves don't even hesitate to try to turn that one back.
And the Unicorns get themselves a kill. They think pretty positively that they can go, but here's the arrow.
Xerxes caught out as well. Flash Wolves are just outplaying the Unicorns across the map. Smart fights, and Samix now running for his life, has to use the ult to disengage. Oh no. Oh, Samix, I'm so sorry, friend. You are gone, you are done, you are taken out. Flash Wolves can now set their sights on the Baron if they want, but it doesn't really matter. They can get anything they want on this map, Vedius.
Flash Wolves are playing these fights so beautifully, utilizing the Karma to help them with the disengage. They have the Corki poke and the Ash slows to just keep the Unicorns of Love at arm's length. And when you think, hey, Hylissang, he can just get onto the back line, it's not enough. But let's see if Chachi can stop this Baron.
Oh, this is looking like a desperation play. Can't even leap in. Goes on to Betty, just trying to buy time, just trying to stop the Baron. He does a ton of damage, but it's not enough to dissuade them. Exile's on the way. He has the ultimate, or will soon. Hylissang has to be careful. What's he using the Hells for? Karsa gonna make it out. Unicorns of Love are gonna stall away the Baron in the end. They stop Disaster. Flash will still find it.
Now, Unicorns do a great job here of catching Karsa out of position. He wants to try and regain control over the area, but he ends up getting punished because Unicorns at least have some vision. Then you see the flank from the Unicorns. They think that they can commit to this fight because they have the numbers advantage, but Hylissang is just a little bit too far away from the rest of his team. It's that whole Jarvan effect where, hey, sure, it's great if you can get onto the back line, but if the rest of your team can't follow, there's very little that you can do to support them.
Well, also the health bars were really low. I feel like
they should have just been happy with the candy bar that they got given.
That was the Deliveroo play where you're just like, you want a tasty meal? Hand deliver it. You know, Tahm Kench, he's got an appetite, you got an appetite too. That was grim, Vedius. I think that was a bit of a mistake. I love the play, I love the aggressive flank. I don't know if they didn't see Betty, but it just felt like Unicorns of Love a little too desperate to make something happen.
And while they did stop the Baron, look at what they've lost overall, because the kill score is now 9-1. The gold advantage is now built up pretty significantly for the Flash Wolves. And here comes another arrow. trying to catch the Unicorns as they maintain or try to regain control over the Baron.
And this is terrifying. You've got a Rengar, you've got the Cloud Drake making these guys faster, you've got a package on the Corgi, well, not anymore. And that arrow comes, you just have to assume that there's going to be someone immediately on top of you if that ever connects. No flash is burned away on this one, though. Do just dodge it out, delay the engagement. Unicorns love, they're grouping up. Hylissang now looking for the flank. Leaps into the mid lane, forces the Valk out from Maple. Unicorns trying to get a push going in the mid lane. Don't really have a ton of side lane vision. They're going to see Betty. No arrow for him. Karsa there as well. Kha'Zix's waiting. Nice volley to try to disengage. Betty not going to connect there. Karsa coming back. Really needed the isolation on Betty if they wanted to push for more, but don't find it in the end.
But now at least the Unicorns are grouping up as a 5-man unit. They have hit a couple of big item spikes where their team fighting isn't weak as Hylissang gets engaged.
Once again on the front lines, caught out. MMD's taking a ton of damage, but over the wall there's 280 carries poking away at the Unicorns of Love. Chachi gets the stun. Exhaust goes down on Exile. Sword Art strays too far, but knocked out of the fight for Samix. There goes Exile. He gets the Q down. The Lichbane dishing out the damage, but Chachi's set to fall. Hylissang, who can he protect? It's not himself. Flashes out to safety. Exile looking for the pop-off. Exhaust goes down. He gets another one. Samix wants more. Cersei leaps in. Maple outplays. Can he keep it going? No. Unicorns of Love with the triple kill.
They're able to turn it around at 26 minutes into the game. Flash Wolves, they tried to commit to a fight, but the Unicorns played it so beautifully. The way in which they kited back, the way in which they used their zoning tools to make sure that it was just one target at a time. And Exile, this beast of a mid laner, is able to just 2v1, get the outplay that they need, and guarantee the team fight win for the Unicorns of Love.
And we look at the gold lead now. They're starting to come back. 2K difference separating them. Flash will still have the advantage, still have the control, but they continue to break down these mid lane towers. And it's a brief respite for Unicorns. Not out of this game yet. Just when things started to look worse, Phidias.
It really did. The Unicorns, they needed this fight. We were talking about it just before the fight even happened. You know, they hit a couple of these item spikes, grouped up as a 5-man unit. The Unicorns, this is where they shine as a team. They've been regarded as great team fighting, or for having great team fighting in the European LCS. And when you give them that opportunity to play the full 5v5, this is where they're really able to shine.
See now, see if they can keep this up, if they can find more opportunities, if they can make more aggressive pushes forward. If they can force Flash Wolves into more fights.
The thing is, I'm still looking at Flash Wolves and the way they've been playing this game so far, they have had way more control. They have had a lot better setup in a lot of their fights. They've been able to find a lot of picks. And as long as the Unicorns stay together, they'll be fine. But if they ever group apart, that's when the Flash Wolves will strike. They've been finding great opportunities. Their vision control has still been on point. And as long as they continue to maintain that, there's no reason why Flash Wolves need to concede any more objectives.
And it gets scarier, right? Corki has the rapid fire cannon. Once he gets that Infinity Age, he'll just start two-shotting some of the more squishy members of the Unicorns of Love. Rengar now going to ult up. Flash Wolves, are they going to pick another fight? Poppy's on the flank. MMD has flash. Is he going to look for the engage? Pulling back, baiting out the cooldown. Still the hunt used. Poppy going right back to bottom lane. Looks like Flash Wolves not going to force anything risky. They did it once already, and it cost them.
I think it's a mistake from the Flash Wolves to even try and force a 5v5 fight anyway. We've already seen what happens if the Unicorns of Love are allowed to get that full-on 5v5. If they dictate the pace of how the 5v5 is set up, that's where the Flash Wolves are really going to struggle, as MMD has found Chachi.
Not going to get too much, though. Hoping for a squishier member, hoping for a more vulnerable target. Not going to get it.
So notice that Exile is on the side lane. He doesn't have flash. He doesn't have TP, so he can't join immediately should Flash Wolves force a fight. But UoL are respecting this. They're just using their wave clear, staying as a 4-man unit to dissuade the possible dive from the Flash Wolves. But now the game is sort of returning to neutrality. And now we get to see how this fight kicks off. So notice that Flash Wolves engage into a choke point, which is perfect for a Victor. That gravity field immediately dissuades Flash Wolves from being able to commit. Sword Art actually gets locked up underneath the tower, and Cersei just buys plenty of time by keeping 3 members, the high damage dealers, of Flash Wolves busy. This allows Exile to come in from the flank and just deal constant damage. The fact that Chachi's able to get away thanks to Hylissang, oh no, he actually ends up losing his life, but regardless, the damage has already been done. Flash Wolves lose their front line, Samix is completely untouched on the back, And while it ends up being a 3-for-5 trade overall, that is a perfect trade for Unicorns given how far behind they were before that engagement started.
And of course, Chachi just playing tanking on the front line so well. The Randuin's Omen giving him enough stats. There's not armor penetration coming in yet for either of those carries. Of course, Maple gets that split damage type, but not enough to burn through the Renekton very quickly. And really, him being on the front line, him buying all that time for the carries feels like it defined the fight for Unicorns. End of the day, though, don't know if it's a mistake that Flash Wolves will make twice. Tons of threats onto the backline here. The Poppy, the Rengar going in as a duo, nigh unstoppable if they can find the backline untouched. But really, it just feels like these fights are going to be so close moving forward. However, Unicorns of Love got a Drake in the meantime while we were away, and it is an Infernal. That's a nice prize when you're looking to get back into the game.
Breathing fire, always an advantage, especially when you're looking to team fight a lot.
You know, it doesn't make people breathe fire, right?
I thought it did. At least I feel like I can breathe fire when I have one. That's where the added damage
Do you
comes
play
from.
League of Legends?
Yeah, I'm really average. Above average, I would say.
Oh no, I'm average.
We know that. But it's okay, because you're getting better over time. And what we've seen is the Unicorns, they've improved compared to their yesterday's performance. They were slow, they were put in a deficit, they were afraid to make plays, but now Hylissang being on this Tahm Kench, and Exile having a really strong performance on this Victor so far, they've been able to make headway and find their way back into the game.
Gotta say, it's really impressive to see teams come back from leads. It's so often that we see it just fall apart the second an enemy team gets a deficit. But here comes Exile. Karsa exhausted. Karsa using the Empowered Battle Roar. I love the sound of Chaos Storm because the beginning is so strong. But I'm going to hold that thought because Tahm Kench, I think, is going to kill someone. And it's Betty. USS goes up. Redemption goes down. Unicorns of Love looking for a way into the backside. Karsa not here quite yet. Vizichachi stunned up. Gravity Field to dissuade any further engage. Is MMD going to go wide on the hammer? Does have the GA up and available. Xerxes leaps onto the backside, stealths up. Hylissang pulls him out, but now Exile's left alone. He's vulnerable. Hylissang makes a mistake. The team sees an opening. Maple goes in. They're looking to get the fight, but Chachi's on the backside. Betty dueling Xerxes. They're going to find it in the end. Flash Wolves take control of the fight. One mistake defines it all, but the Varus hasn't dropped yet. Chachi running to safety as well. Double kill. Nice snipe. MMD trying to heal up, but Vizichachi is the one who's going to be able to make it out. 80.
He's gonna get away.
And it looked, I saw Flash Wolves winning in 2 arrows, 2 clutch moments. Turn the fight back, Samix.
Ends up being a 3-for-3 for both teams. Favorable once again for the Unicorns, because remember, they are the ones at a disadvantage. They are the ones that have been struggling throughout this game, but when they're given that opportunity to fight, that is when they're able to turn this game around. Flash Wolves, they should be looking for picks. They shouldn't be looking to try and force these engages. And to be fair, initially things looked pretty favorable for them. The big mistake really came from Cersei. He jumped over the wall, and Hylissang thought he was in danger. So he had to use his Consume to keep Cersei alive, which means that the moment Exile got locked up, he didn't have that safety anymore. He didn't have anyone to keep him alive and to get him out of harm's way, which resulted in him going down. And that's where we both thought this was a lost team fight for the Unicorns. This is going to be a quick Baron for the Flash Wolves. But then Samix somehow turning it around. Vizichachi in a 3-versus-1. He got exhausted. He was being kited back. He was still able to get a kill, and he was able to get out of the fight. Chachi and Samix were the big turning factors in that game, in that fight, and we have to just keep praising Chachi. You talked about it earlier. He was such a big facilitator in what enabled the rest of the Unicorns to turn that fight in their favor.
Take a look at it one more time. What looks like a strong engage onto Betty, canceled out by the QSS. But then you said it. We'll keep our eyes on Xerxes because we felt like he was the one who fumbled this.
Because a lot of abilities get used onto Chachi, so you think, okay, this is pretty good. Xerxes then jumps over the wall, and this is where the Consume has to be used by Hylissang, and then that leaves Exile completely vulnerable. But then they somehow are able to turn the fight around, because look, at this point you think they were losing it. Xerxes goes down, but look at Chachi on the backside. He's able to just tank up 3 members, get a kill, and Samux goes for aggressive plan into getting the kill down onto Betty, and then he gets the snipe off from the flank.
I mean, piercing arrow, flash auto attack to kill an Ashe, flashing into a Poppy. When has an 80 carry ever flashed into a Poppy
We
for
said
anything?
Samix was aggressive, and this is the style that he likes to play.
I mean, still, Chachi buys time and still an even fight. Gotta say, though, great capitalization from the Flash Wolves at the start of that fight, and that's why there's so much parity between these teams. They both find advantages, they both see opportunities, and they go in on them.
My biggest criticism for the Flash Wolves right now is I feel that they could just split the map up more. There is options for them when you have the Corki package, when you have the Poppy, to be able to go off into the side lanes and play a 1-3-1, divide Unicorns of Love up. But instead, they're constantly grouping. They're trying to force these fights in unfavorable situations, and Unicorns of Love are taking advantage of that.
Baron.
But they...
Flash Wolves have their eyes on mid lane. They don't even know that this is happening. The control ward was left up, so they felt safe to do it. Gravity field goes in, arrow goes wide. Chachi gets the stun. Flash Wolves move into the jungle. Unicorns of Love backing off and baiting. But they've lost mid lane priority. Flash Wolves are going to be able to break mid lane tower. This is bad. There's a Chachi moving in, Hylissang moving in. Have they overstayed their welcome in the mid lane? Redemption heals up. Flash Wolves back off. This is advantage to them. Unicorns of Love a little too aggressive on the Baron take.
Good response from the Flash Wolves because they're able to dissuade Unicorns from taking the Baron. And as you already said, they get themselves that mid tower, and now they actually have priority to turn around and get themselves the Dragon. This will be a second Cloud Drake. Unfortunate that they missed out on the Infernal, given how good their Dragon control has been throughout this game.
Feel for Flash Wolves. All right, we got a Mountain. Nice, nice. I still have Dragon control? Yeah. Cloud. All right, we lost Dragon control. What'd they get? Infernal. All right, that's pretty rough.
Okay.
All right, that's fair. What are we going to get on this one when we have Dragon control again? Sir, it's a Cloud. Oh, okay. All right. Maybe just, like, screw you, Dragon, a little bit.
Maybe because if they were named the Flash Dragons, maybe it'd be a little bit more favorable. The Dragon's just being like, hey, Unicorns of Love, we like your mythical creatures.
Mythical. We don't like this. We don't like this reality.
No, screw that.
Boring.
The Wolves have a camp. No, the Unicorns, they don't. Why don't you come in the Dragon camp? We'll help you out. Regardless, it's still 3 Dragons to 1, and the Flash Wolves, their eyes are on Baron.
No, making the aggressive play. They have the package as well. If Unicorns of Love goes to the fight, they're burning this down so quickly. Unicorns of Love, I don't think they're going to be here in time. Arrow goes in, but it's not enough. Can they take the fight to follow? Cersei on the front line does get eaten up, buys time. It's Chachi all alone in the back line. Look at Exile. Where's the ult going to go? Goes in for damage. He's dishing it out. Sword Art's the one in trouble. The fight just keeps going. Will Sword Art get taken down? Yes. Chaos Storm continues to run. Chachi continues to go forward. Got enough health. MFD wants to go in, but he gets stunned. No, Exile left on the backside. Can Karsa turn this? The Victor is unkillable. Chachi is still alive. The GA procs. Maple is ready to go in at a moment's notice. Is Exile in trouble now? Maple does too much damage. Shutdown goes in. Maple pops off. Samix, the last man standing, but no. Chachi still up and still alive. 3-for-3 fight once again.
But the Flash Wolves get away with the Baron. You can see the pressure is being exerted by Flash Wolves. They know they have good vision control. They feel like they can rush it down and they get it. But the flank from Exile, he gets a free passage onto Betty. There's nothing he can do. This is where the team splits up a bit, and this is where things start to fall apart because the backline of the Unicorns cannot deal with the damage that Maple is outputting. And Exile and Chachi, their coordination is so good. They're able to keep both members alive, and then Exile realizes, oh, I'm on my own. There's nothing I can do against this tank, and Maple, he hurts.
He hurts real bad. That's
Yes,
that 3 items. That's that Trinity Force, that Infinity Edge, that rapid fire cannon coming in. But you got to feel like this is the dream game for both Maple and Exile, because both backlines are just being left unattended. Yep. It's like, hey, mid laner, go. Show us what you've got.
Both two of the strongest performers from both their teams too. Like Exile has had nothing but praise throughout the split. Maple too has been regarded worldwide as a phenomenal individual. And look at his scoreline, 9-2 and 8.
World-class mid laner. And we've seen Exile take down Maple before, but that is not the case today. Karsa slowed up and isolated. That's got to be frustrating. Runs right into the void spikes. Double Cloud means that he can just run to the top side of the map, can just look to get a flank here.
Now yesterday, when Flash Wolves got the Baron, they ended the game very swiftly, but the Unicorns have put up a much stronger fight than G2 have as of right now. The game is pretty late. We've seen that the Unicorns have been great in terms of their team fighting, but I feel that a large part as to why they keep falling behind in these team fights is just because of that slight gold advantage that the Flash Wolves have. And now they have a 4K gold advantage with some pretty big items being finished up. Maybe this is the gold advantage that Flash Wolves need to be able to break into the base of Unicorns.
Absolutely poised to take the first game at this rate. Definitely still in the realm of possibility for Unicorns of Love to come back. It's only a 4K differential.
Very close game. And it's been exciting. I thoroughly enjoyed the game so far.
This is the blood that we wanted when we were like Unicorns of Love. I appreciate that many people enjoyed the Unicorns of Love game that was very macro heavy, not about going down in fights.
But we
really enjoy it when they kill
we
each other.
wanted to see a unicorn trying to skewer a wolf. That's what we wanted. And the wolf has been biting back. Like, the pack has come. They have been herding up the horses like, oh no, what do we do? But then when you get too close to the horse, they kick hard, man. You ever been kicked by a horse?
No,
It sucks.
Calm down, God. I love you, but you go so ham, man. You go so ham. Tower's gonna drop. This Chachi getting slowed up by the Ashe. But the wave clear is still here for the victor for the most part. However, the Baron buff is ticking down slowly but surely. The window of opportunity will disappear for the Flash Wolves. And they don't break an inhibitor with that. This is not the explosive Barons that we've seen in other games. This is very slow, very grindy play.
I would like to praise Caster for his use of his ultimate, because now that he's hit level 16, the duration of the stealth, while it did get nerfed, is still pretty long. And it's on a relatively short cooldown, which means that he just throws it out as a zoning tool. He's literally just standing around being like, hey, there's a possibility that we might engage, we might dive. UoL have to respect that, which enables the Flash Wolves to then move up aggressively towards these towers, and it makes securing them all the more easier. Really good use of the Rengar, not only in the late game, but throughout the game from Caster.
Of course, only a 40-second cooldown, so it doesn't cost the team too much. Has given them so much vision, so much insight into where the Unicorns are. Did help them spot out that earlier Baron attempt. Double Mercurial Scimitar, though, now coming in for the side of Flash Wolves will make it easy to mitigate so much of that engage. But Dragon is up, Dragon is on the way, and the Elder may be the next big break point for both of these teams.
And already Unicorns are investing a bit of vision around this objective. Here comes the ultimate again.
Arrow goes wide. Unicorns love moving to the choke point. This is great for Victor, but it's also so good for that Corki package.
But Chachi, he's a big gator. He is looking for an opportunity to dive on to the Flash Wolves and just act as a wall for his team. As now we see the ultimate for Caster down, the ultimate for Betty is down.
MMD tries to find the flank. Tahm Kench leaping forward. Ult is burned. MMD is locked up. He's going to look to disengage. Not going to find anything. Does get stunned up in the choke point. That's a ton of damage. Redemption's going down. Chaos Storm continuing to tick, but no one is going to drop. Dragon live. Baron on the way soon. Small exchange. Nobody drops in the end.
Now MMD, he does have his teleport, which means that if the Unicorns do commit to that objective, he'll be able to rejoin the fray. But look, Unicorns, they just invested all their ultimates after the Flash Wolves had used theirs, which means Betty, his arrow is back up. Caster, his ultimate is back up. And do Unicorns really want to fight this without all these big abilities available?
Cersei. MMD is guarding the wall too. We can stop him from leaping in. Is this the desperation play? They're going to give it up. That is a 3-stack Elder Dragon moved over to Flash Wolves. May not have cared much about those clouds before, but you're going to care a lot about that true damage, and Baron is going to be up before the duration is done. They can cut through this like butter. It's going to be so hard for Unicorns to love to contest this one.
I'm a little surprised that Betty didn't, that Cersei didn't try to steal that, because the Blast Cone was available. He could have used that to jump over the wall, go for a cheeky steal, and then just jump back out again.
Like, yeah, but you're against a Poppy, right?
I mean,
she
there's
just
always
leaps
that risk,
on to you.
right?
It's like, hey, would you like to jump? How about no?
There's always the risk. But I feel that when you're this pushed back, maybe you have to kind of go for that. At this point in the game, gold means less. You can see that a lot of full builds are being completed now. So once everyone hits that 6 items, the gold difference doesn't really mean anything. And Unicorns can rely on their fantastic team fighting prowess that they have been so well known for. The question is, what are the Flash Wolves going to do? We've seen that they do struggle to decisively win out on any of these big 5v5 team fights, so are they going to split up the map? Are they going to try and use Caster to look for a pick?
Oh no. Looks like there might be a pick on to visit Chachi. You can hear the thrill of the hunt alive and active. Flash Wolves just using it to make sure they get the Baron vision. Oh no, they're just going to burn this down.
They have the Elder Dragon. This is going to go down quick.
Moving forward.
Yeah, that's gone.
That's, yeah. Redemption comes in. Denies the back from MMD for a second, but no steal there.
That Baron was dropped faster than a watermelon downstairs.
Is that a thing, Thaddeus? Do people say that?
I mean, yes. Yes, it is. Those things fly downstairs. And just like the Baron, it flew down quick. Now, with this objective, it's going to enable Flash Wolves to set up a nice 1-3-1. They're going to be able to put a lot more pressure, and I just want to see them split up the Unicorns. They shouldn't be playing the Unicorns game.
Oh, they're splitting Chachi off right now, and he is in trouble. He's going to ult, but the true damage coming in just makes it impossible for him to survive. Flash over the wall, does have another dash. Nope, gets taken down. Flash Wolves find a pick. And this might be the moment. This might be the time for Flash Wolves to break the base. They've got everything. Elder Dragon, the Baron, Exile pokes back, though. Got some damage of his own. But this is it, VoDs. You talked about it. They're splitting them up. They're in 3 lanes. Flash Wolves playing across the map. Cersei trying to find Maple. See damage back. Oh, that's a shot. Shut down on the Maple. Gonna buy a brief reprieve, but they're already moving in under the inhibitors. Unicorns love they're picking a fight, but their base is falling apart. They're gonna grab another one, but they have given up an inhibitor in exchange. Betty's going to grab it. Poppy's breaking the bot side tower as well. Was it worth it, Unicorns? Also Blasco and Sword Art, come on, man.
I mean, the Flash Wolves, the fact that they get so many objectives, they took 3 towers in total, they get that middle inhibitor, even with the Baron buff disappearing from the Flash Wolves, they've got more than enough to continue the pressure onto the Unicorns base. The fact that Unicorns committed to try and get a few return kills, yes, you don't lose too much. I feel that it is almost the best in a bad situation because now all 3 lanes aren't going to collapse under the pressure. But still, the fact that you lost so much is really going to hurt the Flash Wolves and are going to hurt the Unicorns, as the Flash Wolves really have had a firm grip over this game. Even the fights that they've been losing, it doesn't feel like that the Flash Wolves have conceded much of the pressure.
No, and the vision still so much in favor of the Flash Wolves. And with Baron mostly gone, or almost entirely gone at this stage of the game, maybe we're going to stall out for more. The Flash Wolves have a massive lead right now, and this is a small window where maybe Unicorns of Love can find a pickoff, but for the most part, they're just going to have to clear out mid lane. They're just going to have to stay on the back foot and accept that they're behind. However, that's never really been the style for Unicorns of Love.
They will fight until they die, and I expect a big fight to still be on the cards for them. Bear in mind that this late into the game, gold does not matter. Items have all been completed. We've got a lot of GAs all over the map. Neither tank does any damage to either one. Caster now sitting in his ultimate.
Waiting maybe to go forward. Baron buff still up and active on the top side. Small window for Flash Wolves to get aggressive here. Unicorns of Love, can they find a fight on their terms? MMD on the flank. Alt coming in, looking to disengage, knocks Chachi out. That's the cue. Flash Wolves move forward. They're going to break the tower. Samix is caught up. Wall banged in. May get eaten up. Hillis ain't going to take him to safety. MMD, has he overstepped? They're putting all the damage onto the Poppy, but they get the GA. Redemption buys a bit of time, hoping to get MMD. He's going to try to leap out to safety. Exile steps forward. Exile gets caught out. In goes Xerxes. Is it going to be enough? Chachi now on the front lines, but he's got cut down. The armor pen is there, and no longer is he safe. Maple takes down Exile. Sniper with the rockets. Chachi's going to drop. Flash Wolves find the fight, and they may just take the game.
Flash Wolves come out with a convincing teamfight win. They've gotten themselves another inhibitor. MMD is TPing back in, but oh, here comes Xerxes.
Oh, Xerxes desperate to get something done, but it's not enough. Hillisang pops. He hand delivers Xerxes as well. He's going to get GA'd up, but not even going to find a kill. It was a back and forth bloody game, but Flash Wolves find the win in the end, and it's almost beautiful to watch here as they advance 1-0 in the series.
Props to the Flash Wolves. That was a very good and convincing game coming out from the lineup. Early on, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They were able to net a very solid early lead thanks to the dive down bottom. And even though they struggled in a lot of their team fights, as a team, they were able to maintain control of the map. They had really good Baron control. They were able to force a lot of objectives, and they were able to close out game without too many problems.
Overall, a very back and forth game.
Oh, yeah.
I think what we saw is that, one, we were wrong about Rengar. Still very good.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly a very
we
powerful
weren't wrong about the European Rengar, I feel. What we have definitely seen, though, is how to properly utilize Rengar. But I think a lot of the criticism from me has to go towards Xerxes, because his Kha'Zix just had no impact. I felt like that his ability to utilize that early game champion was just nowhere near as strong as what we've seen from him in the past. And if he'd been on something a little bit more scaling, maybe he could have had a bit more impact in these mid to late game team fights.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how they adapt in the future. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head to a quick break. But when we get back, the analyst desk will break down that game as we look forward to the second one in this series.
Well, I thought maybe I had a slight hope during that game that we were potentially going to come out on top. EU almost had a winning chance, but right from the get-go, Flash Wolves looked good.
Of course, Flash Wolves looked great yesterday as well, and just for the sake of great League of Legends, this was one of those games. The Flash Wolves put up a great game, and the Unicorns fought back very resilient. Obviously, the compositions make the game last a while, but that doesn't mean it was a good game, or wasn't.
Yeah, it was sick, the team fighting in particular, but kind of starting with that early play, you know, we said it during Champion Select that this was going to be very clear cut. They're going to go bottom. Now, my issue is this was a trust fall for Hylissang. He had the Kench, he was able to absorb all of that. And if Unicorns of Love had absorbed that dive, they would have won out on so much.
Let's take a look at that dive now. We have a replay for it. It was around the 8-minute mark into the game. This was that coordinated bot lane dive, and like you said, Hylissang had to absorb this.
We previously saw Corki and Rengar clear control wards, making this play very obviously, and bam, right away they're able to pull off a 2-for-0, and there's nothing the Unicorns can get in return. And Kha'Zix on another side.
Yeah, and this isn't just Hylissang. Like, look at where Vizichachi is. He's pushed up in his lane. Like Crumbs was saying, right before this dive happened, they saw Rengar clear a ward on bottom side. So there was all indication, you know, Ashe has the ultimate available. Rengar is level 6. We know that he's bottom side. The big wave is building and it's pushing up. Like, Unicorns of Blood had so many opportunities where, you know, Vizichachi could have pulled back and been like, I'm going to look for the teleport. Xerxes should have been running bot lane as the Kha'Zix. Like, they could have mounted a defense here.
However, they did do something pretty good afterwards, which is that Xerxes went to mid lane, got a little bit of chunk damage onto the mid lane turret, which allowed them to take that mid lane turret earlier than the Flash Wolves, which sets them in a much better place to stall the game out, which is what happened.
And that's what I'm going to show you in the next replay. We have this mid-game fight where it looked like Unicorns of Love had stalled enough to allow Xerxes to get to a point where his team fighting was good, and that poke from Samox was really starting to hurt.
But before we get into that replay, while I do agree that this was, we're just going to fail.
Sorry.
It's all good. Yeah, so this is all just about the Unicorns of Love coming to the team fight. But the thing is like, it stalled out so much because Flash Wolves had thrown away like 3 arrows at this point where they would hit targets, but they wouldn't mean anything before we come into this team fight.
And the big thing was that the carries were divided over the wall on the left side, and Exile was left undisturbed. He usually only died when carries came in, the long range from Ashe and Corki being a very big threat. But when you have him against the Poppy by himself, he can easily melt him down. That Chaos Storm just does so much damage, and if you're not able to get out of that, then they clean it up. And that was the moment where the Unicorns was like, okay, there's some hope here. They can still team fight very well.
But you were saying, Frost, that resulted because of those ultimate timings from the Ashe.
Yeah, okay, so like they dropped tower at around 11 to 12 minutes, and they're in between their item points. Like, Ashe literally had a BF sword and like a dagger at this point. Like, they can't continue to snowball the game, especially when Exile is playing so well, not having cleanse, going for the exhaust, and never being punished by an Ashe or anything like that. And Betty literally threw like 2 arrows, I think, that really either just hit a target and no one followed up, or it was never used in conjunction with the Rengar ultimate. And so it kind of slowed down that tempo and their ability to continue to snowball the game, which then set up for you know, Unicorns to get their foot back in the game. You know, they have their power spikes, and they were confident enough to pull the trigger on the 5v5, and then did so beautifully in Samox and Exile's performance.
Now, we have one final replay for you guys. This was that Baron fight where Flash Wolves got the Baron. It was instantaneous turn and got a massive, massive fight out of it as well. What happened here?
This was the Flash Wolves just rushes Baron. They get Scuttle Crab real quickly, and the fight begins. You have Hylissang flashing in, but Exile undisturbed on the left-hand side. The carries are not there. Notice how Corki's going on the right-hand side. They're picking up other players. So Exile is able to do so much work here, and he's really the hero for Unicorns this game. I mean, if there's a player of the game for this series, it would be this guy, because he was doing so much work in keeping these guys alive. Vizichachi being able to proc the GA from Poppy, but he's still alive, and he almost wiped them here too.
But this is like the continuous story of Europe for this tournament. You have these individual peak performances. Febiven comes to mind. Jankos has had incredible early games. Now Exile and Samox are going off. Vizichachi, especially also in that replay, like the sick Renekton plays in the back of the Baron pit, but it's not translating into victories because you look at the rest of their map, particularly their side lane control, and they're just getting dominated by these Asian teams.
Well, we're going to come back after a short break. I'm probably going to eat a couple of donuts. We've got the next game of this series coming your way.
Cersei trying to find Maple. The damage back. Oh, that's a shot. Shut down on a Maple. It was a back and forth bloody game, but Flash Wolves find the win in the end, and it's almost beautiful to watch here as they advance 1-0 in the series.